2, 1.
We back here on the Dress It, man. I got Tommy McBrayer, man, Mr. Don't Shoot Guns, Shoot Hoops. I got him here. Can I get my trophy? Can I just have my trophy? I want my trophy. I want you to put my name in the trophy already. Just
Come
do it.
on,
Just
man.
pre-do it, so it's here by the time. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, you're going to have to win that, man. You're going to have to win. That's some competition coming, man.
Nah, I feel you. I feel you. Don't shoot guns, shoot hoops, though. Tell me about it. What's that?
Man, it's just, it's a nonprofit organization in the city. It just became all this, it came about just all the violence been going on in the city, man, for the last couple of years, man. Ever since George Floyd, man, the city really ain't been the same. And, in the last year, I think we really went through that, felt that wave of how many youth was getting shot, from 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds to 7-year-olds. We just hearing about it every week. So I said, man, we need to start by just doing a basketball game called Don't Shoot Guns, Shoot Hoops, using the game of basketball to bring us together. And before you know it, it became a nonprofit. So yeah, man, just.
But I mean, so when you say don't shoot guns, so what? We don't need guns?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's a law that you can, your amendment to have, your right of the United States to have a gun. If you're eligible to have a gun. So I wouldn't say that you're not supposed to use it, but it's just how you use it, and the wrong people are getting hold of guns nowadays.
So you mean like crime, more so crime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Senseless crime, people that, a lot of kids and a lot of people just being careless with it, even leaving around kids and things like that. So we got to be cautious about leaving around kids and the right people getting a hold of them. I think you just need to, with the right training and, the leadership, we want all of us to protect ourselves. At the same time, you might have your considered carry and be in the right place at the right time, and, can prevent some stuff from happening, with somebody doing some crazy stuff. So, yeah.
But I will say, the world crazy now today, man. I personally believe everybody who can have it need it, Mm-hmm. Now, what you said as far as what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
And the practices, safe practices.
Yeah.
But I just want to know, so what was the motivation, though? What was the initial motivation, Because I know it was a turning point. I know it was like,
oh, yeah.
I want to do something positive for the community.
Yeah, I mean, just from the neighborhoods we live in, every urban community you could possibly think of in the United States, it's so broad, that we got friends, we got family that's dying from gun violence, from your neighborhood to my neighborhood, from your friends to your friend, to my friends, I done lost over 20 people from just gun violence, and then myself being a survivor of gun violence myself, that's where my passion comes in from, experiencing things and, closing your eyes, not knowing they're about to open. There's something about that just motivates you, like, okay, man, I want to prevent that from happening to anybody else. So yes, that's where my passion came from. Yeah.
Why do you think guns is just such a problem in our community, though?
Man, because they were just forced in our community, leak, from the Ronald Reagan, watching the movie like Snowfall, right, up on the TV station and things like that, you see how it was a goal to flood our urban communities with guns and drugs, and that was on purpose. So I think why? Because that's what their plan was to flood our communities with drugs and guns. But now it's just like I don't know how it's so easy to get these guns nowadays, man. Like just guns I ain't never seen a day in my life. Now you got these switches and you got ghost guns, right? Ghost guns that you could just order online, put them together, and they're legal guns. So it's the easy access to guns is really what the problem is sometimes as well. Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things. Babies having these, like you say, switches and stuff. But how do we reach them though? How do we impact them in a way that's effective?
Man, you gotta almost go back to like the scare tactics. You know what I mean? Like the scare straight way, right? Where you put reality in front of them, right? I think a lot of us have a reality check of losing friends, right? And going to so many funerals at a time that it's the reality like, okay, man, this ain't got no joke. But I do it by like sharing stories of other people that got paralyzed or lost loved ones from gun violence, and hopefully that opens up their mindset sometimes of when they're making wise decisions on second guessing doing things, right? Because if we think about it, Minnesota ain't that big where we don't know who's doing what they're doing. It's more like just us controlling and talking to our friends like, hey, maybe you should think twice about doing this, or maybe you should think twice about doing that, you know, because it is getting out of control, where it is like a everyday thing where it's not safe to live in your own communities nowadays, you know?
And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. When you make it, they tell you you're supposed to stay in your community.
Yeah.
But when you come back to your community, sometimes they're killing us, you know? I just want you to talk a little bit about that mindset.
Man, I feel like, yes, you want to always, you want to give back to your community. You know, at one point in time, yeah, you know, the goal was to live in community all your life and things like that. But if your community becomes a trauma zone, I'm not going to tell nobody to stay in your own trauma, you know, and you know, deal with the trauma that's going on every day. Like if you live on a block that you grew up on and they're shooting every day, I'm not going to say that you should stay in this, you know, stay up in this environment. That's why we need Don't Shoot Gun Troops and different, you know, different organizations that tap into those neighborhoods so we can create safer spaces, you know, so people can feel welcome. And kids don't got to live in fear, you know, and you shouldn't live in fear in your own neighborhood. So I feel like you can still give back to your neighborhood, not live in your neighborhood, you know, like that's still your grassroots of how you grew up, yeah.
I mean, I think it's still important to show up though, you know. But it's like we gotta make sure they safe when they do show up.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure.
I want to talk about like rappers and stuff. How much do rappers and their music content play a role in the violence in our communities?
They play a huge role, man. I mean, they're like, I don't want to even say like they're really to blame, but they have a huge influence. A huge influence. You gotta think about this from a kid's lens during this whole pandemic, where everything from these kids was taken away, from parks to school dances to graduations to even school, right? You at the one point in time you had to do that on social distance, right? So these kids aren't even, they're exposed to just rap music, you know, and 95% of the rap music talk about how you gonna smoke a nigga, kill a nigga, or pop a pill, or you know, liquor involved, whatever. And then they're exposed to video games. And video games got what? Call of Duty and things like that. So they're exposed, and this is their development. So all they're learning is bad stuff, right? Negative stuff, instead of stuff that's influencing them. So if you're just listening to these rappers all day, and you in this type of mode, and you feeling hurt, or somebody just shot your man, you listen to these words, it's only going to influence you to do worse things. You know what I'm saying? It's going, whatever you're itching for, you're eventually gonna go get, you know, like, so.
Because music is supposed to affect your mood, right?
Oh yeah, you could listen to stuff that calm you down. You could listen to stuff that put you on, like when I'm on you know, overseas and I'm on an island, I ain't think about, you know, listening to no Lil Durk, you know, to be honest, or no King Von. You know, I'm listening more like Wizkid or some Tim's or some laid back music type of stuff. So it is like, you know, you are a product of your environment, so, you know, you get out what you put in. So you put in all the negative stuff in your thoughts, and it's feeding your negative thoughts, man. You know, you'll eventually put it to action, so.
I mean, most recently, you know, Takeoff, he, you know, situation, he was murdered.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to act as like I know exactly what happened, but, you know, they mentioned, you know, shooting dice and, you know, just being in places that you've worked hard to get out of, you know. I just want you to talk a little bit about that. Should you have to run away from your community?
When you have a certain public face and figure, yes, you like, it's just like you having to be in a CEO. You gotta be a CEO everywhere you go, you know. And this is even tougher for artists. You know, we learned it from P&B Rock, right, where you have to always be considered where you go and things like that. And that's for a perfect example, you know, of what's the name again? It just died. Takeoff. Not going back to like your ways, man. You gotta grow up and you gotta move on. You know what I'm saying? Like you just can't keep on living like back in the day lifestyles when you get to a certain, you know, figure, you know, in life. You know, it just gonna cause problems towards you, you know, right? So every situation ain't gonna go right? And you can shoot a dice 1,000 times, but still knowing there's a risk every time you shoot these dice, it can go opposite ways. You know, it could be somebody in their feelings, it could be some things that, and these are the risks that they take every time, you know?
So I mean, if I get rich, I can't shoot dice?
Yeah, but it's just there's a risk. There's a risk to everything we do. You can go out because you rich, right? But guess what? There's complications that come with that. So now, like, you're not gonna see Jay-Z shooting no dice at no bowling hall. You feel me? So there's levels to, like, when you get to a certain level, how you gotta move. You know what I'm saying? Like, just for your own safety and things like that.
So I guess the people that find themselves in these positions, I'm trying to figure out, like, why in our community, why does it happen so much?
Man, because one thing, Malik, man, we gotta really unpack our own racism. To think that racism is just black and white is really just, you're not being real about situations. I don't know about you, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not worried about a white person ever harming me, to be honest. I'm not worried about a white person shooting me on a day-to-day basis. I'm not worried about an officer shooting me 9 times out of 10. I'm just not. But the realization of we're dealing with black people that's just like myself that I'm fearing more than anybody else, because why? They either know me or, it'd be the closest one that really tried to get you and things like that. But just learning that I'm dealing with racist black folks at the same time. So, and they might hate me worse than anybody else. So as a community, it's like you have to unpack the racism that we're dealing with ourselves. Why is it every time I see a group of black dudes, I'm intimidated? Why every time I see a black dude looking good, I want to rob him, I want to shoot him? And it's like, I don't even know him. That's racism building to you. Like, you don't know nothing about this. If that was a white person, you'd be like, oh, that dude's racist, right? He hate me because of the color of my skin, and this and this and this. But you can't look at that and say no. There's a lot of, we got to be pro-black, in a lot of ways, yeah.
So when you have people like Kanye saying white lives matter, and stuff like that, and he, sometimes they reference some of the stuff you was just saying. So what do you feel about those type of statements?
It's just, one thing.
Do you agree?
About white lives matter and things like that?
I mean, do you agree with their approach of how they're trying to pass that message along that black people need to stop killing each other as well? We only get upset when the white person kills us.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say it was, I don't agree how they're doing it, because as soon as you say black on black crime, it's already, that's a racist statement right there. Because you're not saying white on white, you're not saying black on black, you're not saying Asian, you're not saying Hmong on Hmong, it's just black on black. So I just said, like I said, I'm just trying to focus on, like, we got a lot of racism we dealing with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That once we, like, because that's what the system did. They made us hate ourselves. They made us go against ourselves and things like that. We was never like that. We never grew up like that. You can see in our households, like, oh no, we're not, as a family, we're not built to hate each other. So why as a culture, we're built to hate each other? Like, no. So it's just the system that they train really is working right now. Like, it's that white supremacy is so thick that, and they put us in these environments that are built off just hate, and a lot of crime and things like that, and drugs and stuff like that, to really mess with our mind states as well. So
I mean, you talk about healing for our community, but, like, what does that look like though? How do we do that?
Man, we are going against the odds, We're going against the odds because there's so many guns that it's out of control. So how do you really stop and heal when there's so much trauma every day? Every day there's a new shooting. Like right now, there's 230 people that get shot a day. So when you think you got over this death, 230 people should get shot tomorrow. 230 people get shot. That's a crazy number.
That's around the world?
Yes, no, that's United States.
230
people, you know what I'm saying, get shot a day. We already had 70,000 people got shot this year. So it's just like you just got to keep your faith high and just do something. So that's where my thing is, don't shoot, gonna shoot, but at least we're doing something. I'm not saying I'm gonna stop in front of the middle of a bullet and, stop people from shooting and all that, but all I'm doing is trying to do things to stay ahead of the curve, to at least say, hey, we doing something to try to prevent this stuff and not try to promote it like it's cool, like in the rap music and stuff, right? Like, I respect all those people that you can do your thing, you could be a gangster, that's what you wanna be, but why advertise it like that's the thing to be? You could do all the gangster you want to, but why a kid that looking up to you, you want him to go the same direction? It's like, no, that's selfish.
Or without telling them necessarily the full story.
There you go.
Tell them about the hardship, though. Yeah. I'm talking about the graphic. Be graphic too, so they can understand the glory and they leave a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
And so it just look all glory. One One thing I want to talk about, like accountability though, for black men though. And one thing, you know, you do a lot of your, I see you do your circles on accountability. What does that mean for you?
Man, accountability is something that a lot of us that grew up in the urban community really don't do anymore. You know, you just think about, like you said, when we live in the urban community that's focused on gang violence, right? And you part of a gang, and you usually have a leader of your gang, right? And that's the person that make sure you keep staying on track and things like that, and hold your responsibility for violations and things like that when you break codes. But when you start having organizations that has no leaders no more, right? These people are just doing stuff, right? Doing stuff, disloyal things and things like that. And guess what? There's no accountability for those. These things, they're just moving, you know, just with life. And and that's where you really gonna have a culture of problems, because if nobody's hold these kids accountable, then you're really gonna have some just wild heads out here that just feel like there's no rules. And if we move around with no rules, what would we be? With no rules, we gotta have some
Wild West.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what that's what we come. You know, that's what it end up being like. So it's important to hold accountability even in yourself. You know, as I can't be a leader and not hold myself accountable, but then want people to hold themselves accountable, right?
I mean, even like amongst our peers though. So like, how can we better hold our peers accountable? You know, with stuff like violence, with stuff like raising your kids better, or your households, or protecting black women. You know, that's stuff.
I think it starts with your own household and your own friends at first. You know, I feel like, you know, like if you ain't got control of that first, you can't go into the community and into the world and say let's stop this and that, and you can't stop the people in your own family and stuff like that. But it starts having those real conversations. You know, like even if you got friends that's on drugs, right? You want them to get off drugs, or you just need to have no real conversation. Like, hey, bro, you ain't been doing the same. Or, hey, bro, I think this stupid that you about to go out there and about to rob these dudes. I just think that you should think differently, or think about your kids at home and things like that. But it's always looking out for the better of the person that can never go wrong. You know, as long as I'm giving you advice, I say, hey, bro, I'm trying to make sure you get home. Bro, I'm trying to make sure, you know, this and this. Bro, I'm trying to make sure you're going to make it to work tomorrow. Whatever it is, that advice is needed. You know, like I feel like you always should speak up when you're trying to hold other people accountable, right? And then at the same time, don't assume that they like know what you want from them. So it's like if you got a friend, you know, like I said, we was talking about like how you gotta renew your contract with your friends, right? And like how you basically gotta say like, all right, this is what I expect from you now. Like we grown now, so I'm not gonna call you every day, dude. I'm probably not gonna see you, you know, probably 2 times a month. But I can show up when your kids, you know, when I show up for holidays, whatever it is, let me know. You know what I'm saying? What's the standard, what you want, so that way we could be on the same part, right? And that's why I can hold you accountable as a friend, because it's standards with being friends these days. You know what I'm saying? You know, Leak, and I don't think a lot of people holding standards to their friends like that. Like, and it's important. You know, it's important like that. You see eye to eye, and we both on the same court. You know.
That's what I mean by accountability too, though. Standards and accountability. Because I see, you know, I see a group of friends, and one of the friends never has his kids. You know, but ain't nobody spoke up about that.
Right.
You know, ain't nobody said, man, well, let's get our kids together. You know, there's ways to do it. So I just think it's not enough of it.
Yeah.
You know, amongst our community, and I just think it's little steps that can help the big picture.
Yeah.
You know.
No, for sure. But it ain't nothing about like complaining without giving somebody some advice or some resources to like to help or something like that, right? And at the same time of when you do want to get on somebody, at least give them credit when they finally is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? So like you said, like he probably ain't in his kid's life. Then all of a sudden when he finally get in his kid's life, it's important to, hey, pat him on the back and give him his crap, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause you know, you were just complaining that he wasn't, so now that he is, let me get a little motivation to keep it going though. So I think that sometimes we be so focused on chewing them out, but we gotta come back and give them a little pat on the back when they is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, or turn that around that you want them to turn around, or stop doing drugs or whatever it is.
Like senseless murders. I want to talk about like senseless murders. You know, this as a community, we just bad with conflict resolution. You know, things go left real quick. I mean, what's your advice? You know, people are dying over a petty argument. You know, it's like what do we need to do as a community to be able to, man, live to grow old?
Man, what we've been doing, Malik, you know, like one thing about me and you, like we could say we actually doing work, you know, like tapping into doing them circles, right? That we do about anger management, self-control, you know. Those little tactics can save your life, right? And like I said, all we could do is keep on talking about our own experience of things that went left from me getting shot, things that left from your homies probably being out of jail or in jail. It's like a 15-second little altercation. Before you know it, it went south, right? So being able to just be like, look in the mirror and know your goal is to get back home. My goal is to get back to my kids. My goal is this, you know, things like that. So I would say like just, like it's just, yeah.
I think most of it's ego, man.
Yeah.
Ego is it's like the hardest thing to get over. You know, a lot of people get a lot of attention from cutting up.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
they look at it like, if I stop cutting up, ain't nobody gonna know me no more. You know, same like with athletes. Sometimes athletes go through real depression. They be
yeah.
like, man, I've been this jock, this varsity athlete forever. Now I can't hoop. I gotta work at T-Mobile. You know, you know, who am I? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
ego definitely play a part, man. You already know. People got too much pride these days, man, just to walk away. You know what I mean? Too much pride to walk away. They want to impress this female. They want to do it. They want to act hard in front of the female. We see it all the time. We, you know, like I said, we grew up. We try to just really just not put ourselves in people's shoes, but at the same time, you got to think from a perspective that's just, these guys ain't healed that we talking about. We're not talking about just individuals that just got it all. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these kids is hurt, don't know how to deal with it, they ain't got the confidence or just don't really got the right development skills to make the right decision. You know, like you would think everybody's perfect, but it ain't. You know, like really people struggling, you know, like really people struggling, you know. So it's right time to tap in with that anger management, self-control, because it could really save you.
so the actual event day. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, so November Madness, man. I went to the Final Four, man, and I went to the Final Four last year and watched the girls play, and I just could not stop thinking about business. I'm just looking around like, man, this is it's $1 million, you know, playing right here, man. So I was like, man, what makes us different? Why them and not us? You know what I mean? I always think about this, like why they doing it and why we can't do it. So I was like, man, you know, forget it. Let's call it November Madness, right? Because what it is was they just needed enough people to buy in to the March Madness for it to be a March Madness, right? That's all it takes. So if it took 64 teams to buy into it and say, okay, we're gonna do it. So I was like, okay, let me do it in the city. So it's coming up November 19th and 20th. It's a 16-team tournament. So the first day is Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Then the next day is the Final Four, three-point contest, dunk contest, and then the championship.
So 2 games a day?
Yep, 2 games a day. Yep, 2 games a day. Just like the March Madness, single game elimination. You know, it's like, you know, come with it. You know, come to the dance. They say, you know, come to the dance. And it's gonna be an awesome turnout. Last year sold out, man. It's gonna be a real epic event. It's like I said, just us leading the way, us as a community coming together. You know, sharing our stories about gun violence at the same time, just setting the way and paving the way of we could get together by the hundreds with no violence. We can't do that as a community because I still believe in this world there's bad people, but there's twice as many good people than there is bad people. So even though there's a lot of bad stuff going on, let's gather the good ones that still want to change this stuff. You know what I'm saying? That, like you said, we're trying to live long. You know what I'm saying? And the reality check with me, Malik, is a lot of our friends now making to 40 years old. You know, like I'm not even 40 yet, and how many friends I lost, right? And just saying with you, you know, you're not even, you know, just turning 30. You know what I'm saying? So 40 is like how many friends you done lost in. You know what I'm saying? So it's a reality of we really struggling to get to 40 years old. You know what I mean? So
I want to talk a little bit about like corner stores and stuff like that. Their role in violence and things in the community. Just, what do you feel their role is?
Man, that's
You got one on every corner, and it's a lot of crime is centered around gas stations, corner store, and they are owned by people that don't look like us.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good question. They definitely see why no matter how much violence go on, why Arabs and Pakistan's in our neighborhood never stop investing in our neighborhood because they know the value of black money, you know. And of course, if they don't see their own getting shot, it's not a problem for them. You ain't hearing about no Pakistanis getting shot. You ain't hearing about no Arabs getting shot, right? You hearing about black people, so they're going home to their family, right? And there's the reality of, hold on, man, how you gonna still open this? Like, well, none of my people are getting hurt. So it's the reality of, we don't let these people come into our neighborhoods, benefit off our people, right? But like I said, not even respectful enough to close down when our people getting hurt. So it's like, you already right there, that shows no empathy for our culture. At the same time, it's a smack in the face because besides, you know, my neighborhood in my community where I'm really asking for them to give money back, and they do donate to events I got going on. I don't think nobody in their actual neighborhood is getting funding from those corner stores that you say, you know. And is that our fault because we're not even asking for anything? How they gonna give something we're not even asking for something, right? And I think that's where the disconnection come from, because in my neighborhood, in a central neighborhood, I can go to every corner store in my neighborhood and literally ask for any type of money. I can get any type of product I want from their corner store. But that's because of the relationship. That's me going into my store and things like that. So that's why Don't Shoot Guns Shoot Hoops, another thing, is important, because when I say who's your target customers and things like that, is moms with kids and is store owners like the regular corner store, because one thing about it, they don't want violence. You know, like, I mean, you will make an assumption that they don't want violence because violence is bad for their store. That means they're gonna stop people from coming in, it's gonna stop people from wanna spend their money here. So if you stop violence, then
You would think so.
You would think, right, exactly.
But these stores still be busting, right? Right after.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's the reality that we're not gonna stop going, right? Just like any club that gets shot up, next day they're going back to the same club, right? For example, State Fair, right? I even seen you, right? They get shot up. It didn't stop you from going. You still went the next day. People still went the next day.
I put logic on it. I said, if it happened yesterday, it's not gonna happen today.
Right.
You know,
right,
like,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
But just you feel me? But there's nothing that's gonna stop us. You know what I mean? There's certain things that just like, some people ain't gonna, like, they got this factor that happened to them, that ain't gonna happen to me. He was doing this or he was doing that. I ain't doing this or I ain't doing that. So they live with that.
So would you say they do have a responsibility to give back to the community?
Yeah, oh yeah, they definitely have a responsibility. It's just that we're not asking them for anything, you know? So it's just like, when you ask, then maybe you'll get an answer. But usually 9 times out of 10, they just jump to the conclusion like, oh, they're not doing nothing in the neighborhood. And it's like, well, what have you asked, you know? And I was giving pushback even with 30th Chicago, like, oh yeah, they need to close, Tommy, you know, this and this and that. And I told them, like, well, my personal experience with Cut Foods, they everything I asked for, that they've been supporting me for the last 10 years of Tommy Thanksgiving dinners things, and anything I did in the neighborhood, from blocking off the whole block and doing skating events and things like that. They was funding that. Why? Because I was asking them to fund those things, right? So, you know, and you get pushback, you know, and it become politics at the same time. Oh, they did this or they did this. Hey, my relationship with them may be different than everybody else's, right? That's like saying, like, if I went to your neighbor and I went to the corner store and I'm asking Jose for this and this, he'd be like, nigga, I don't know you. He probably won't give it to me, right? But if you come, because you got a connection, you live in that neighborhood, you a boy from the neighborhood, it's a different relationship. So I think it all depends on, like, we got to hold them accountable because we know they've been profiting off us for years on years on years on years.
And no matter how much they support,
Yep.
we spending the money.
Yeah.
So we
Yep.
spending the
Yep.
money
Yep.
for them to be able
Yeah.
to support, though.
Yeah, but
So,
that's the whole thing of, we're spending our money, but we're not asking how to get the shop, though.
But then that's another thing. As soon as somebody get in charge, like you say, the racism thing, the black people, they gonna hate on that person. You know? So
And then guess what? It'd be your own niggas hanging out your shop. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. Now you got Malik owns a gas station. Guess what? Your own niggas now in front of your store, making your store hot. You thinking like, because it's crazy, like the pushback. You know, like, I done seen it happen with my own guys where they buying shops and it be your own people messing up your product. You know, they want to make a bad look for it. They want to be in front of your Western. They want to shoot dice and smoke bleed in front of your establishment. Like, come on, man. But it's so sometimes, like, well, shit, who had they gives it? Because, like I said, like, man,
I mean, what's that about though? Like, why? I mean, as a community though, like, what is that about? If you see a guy doing well, what about you doesn't click in your head? Let me not be a problem for him.
Man,
Let me
just
not come to Tommy event and be a problem. You
come
know
on,
what I'm saying?
yeah. I don't know. That's the thing about everybody don't want a better environment. Lee. You will hope like everybody wants a safer community. You would think everybody want to end gun violence, but it ain't. You got the ones that still you got those people, those headaches in your crew that you're like, come on, man, like come on. And it's like, it's just a tolerance that they did with so many years, man. It's a headache, you know? It's a headache.
So, police, do you think, they were talking about defunding the police and being community ran? What way do you lean toward? What's realistic in our communities?
See, when this first happened, Leak, I was basically saying like, it had to be a transformation of power for anything to happen. You know, it had to be, we needed the police for whatever time frame, like say we needed the police for the next 3 years, but it's only training our community to basically de-escalate, be able to handle different tactical skills and things like that. Go to training just like the police or something like that, right? Or some type of academy where you could train these individuals, not just taking what they're doing now, taking brothers off the street and just, they ain't got no training, you know what I'm saying? You seeing them fail left and right because they're trying to adjust and but not really taking the time to do it. So I say like, you need to have a transformation of power where basically like y'all could teach us tactics and things like that and get the power back to the community, but only for non-violent crimes. You know, I feel like the police get called for too many things, like jaywalking. Why would you call the police for somebody jaywalking? You know, why would you even call the police for a counterfeit dollar? You know, these are things that don't got to be in the police hands. You can get it back to the community and things like that. So I feel like non-violent crimes, give it back to the community. When it comes to somebody shooting or somebody robbing a bank, by all means, you're gonna call the police because they're on a different level of threat.
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. You know, so but I think on that minimum stuff, like I learned how to handle business yourself, man. Like people call the police too much. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, so that's why I feel like, yeah, I feel like, do we need the police? Yes, we don't need to go from 100% police to 0%. That we've seen that fail. You know what I'm saying? As a community, we've seen that stuff fail, and we tried it. You know, like we tried it. You know, like Minnesota was the first really say like, we don't need no police. Don't come around here. Things like that. But in not having enough time to be like, okay, we tested the waters. Things were going to get worse before it got better, but we never even like test the waters again. Like, yeah, things. If you take away the police, yeah, they're going to get way higher. You know, violence going to spike up because people are like, oh, well, I could do this and the police ain't going to come. I can rob this store. I can take this car and no police going to come. So yeah.
I mean, how do we get to a point in our community? And of course, I know this is your opinion. I know you don't know the exact answer, but how do we get to a point where it's cool to be the police, though? Like, I mean, like, you'd rather have me pull you over than somebody else.
I think when we make it cool again, I think it has to be somebody some people that we know to basically go off on a limb and be the first ones to do it. You know, and then it's at the same time, it's just like I don't know, because it just represent everything that we're not. And that's where my tough thing. I'm like, I don't care about just securing stuff and things like that. But when you think about just the name of police by itself, it already just brings up this history of slave makers and blase and things like that. And like, so if we're gonna do something different, y'all gonna have a different mentality, let's switch up the whole name then, right? Why just be police? Name something else, because the history that come with that, it's like joining the KKK because they got new management now, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, come on, y'all, we changed, we swear we changed, but still be called KKK.
I can't wear your jersey, you know?
Come on, yeah, you know, so you still go underneath the umbrella of KKK. It's like, okay, we changed now, we got new this, we got new that, but no, he's like, nah, man. So you need a structure, you know. It needs a whole nother structure, you know, to help, like, to build the respect from the community in the African American culture. You know, it never benefited us, you know, and still to this day. But one thing I learned as a community, like learning about this abolish and reform and stuff like that, you realize the police don't prevent anything from happening. if you call somebody about somebody just robbed you, the robbery already happened. So you're just trying to catch the person that robbed you, right? If you call and say somebody's shooting, the shooting already happened. You just trying to report. So really, it's like, who do you want to come after?
They just get them off the street.
Yeah,
They just don't let them be running around.
Yeah, it's that, and it's like you can show a presence where you do. Like I said, you got different things that you can do. You can post somewhere and try to prevent things from happening, but realistically, they don't stop anything from happening. You know.
My thing is, I think we need a little bit of all of it on
Yeah,
every level.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like you say, we need the police here for this stuff. We need the community here for this stuff. You know, we need to delegate, but ultimately we need to be accountable.
Yeah.
We need to be accountable.
Yeah.
We, you know, but yeah. Just tell me a little bit more. What you want the people to know about the event? What's going on? It's gonna be yearly.
Yeah, it's gonna be yearly, man. Like I said, just creating that wave, Malik, or something that get these kids to jump on something and be attached to something positive. You know, the mission's already in the name of it. You know, get kids to run around with "Don't Shoot Guns, Shoot Hoop" merch is really like a goal by itself of just pushing that, right? To see a neighborhood that's just thriving. You know, we just vision a neighborhood where, like I said, our parents and our youth don't live in fear. You know, they can really go to school in the neighborhood, they can play and be kids and grow up and not just think of, oh, I can't jump on a trampoline 'cause I'm gonna get shot, right? I can't do this and I can't do that. I can't skateboard in my own neighborhood, you know, and things like that. So so Don't Shoot Gun Shoes, man. Make sure you support it. We here to stay. You know, our main goal is to eliminate gun violence. You know, in the urban community. So, get behind us. See how you can support us. You know, could be a volunteer. We're always looking for new adventures. We eventually want to expand outside the metro area. And we're looking to get into the school district, you know, looking to get in the school district, in the park district, you know, because that's where the kids are at. So
It's in the district as far as what, like a tournament with the kids?
yeah. The school district as a tournament with the school, like hosting like how they do holiday classics and things like that. We want to host a Don't Shoot Gun Hoops Classic, right, where you got teams coming from
That'll
all
be
over.
nice. High school?
Yeah,
That'll
high
be
school.
nice, like they used to do at Bethel.
Yeah.
Christmas and
Yeah.
stuff.
Even in middle school, you know, like reaching out to that area, because as I'm learning, that area is there's nothing for it when it comes to sports and tournaments. I mean, as like school tournaments, everything's really in high school and stuff like that. So trying to get up in that, and then like the park board of just how would it look like to be get a contract with the park and rec, and that way we could do free basketball clinics, you know, in the parks and have a presence in the parks again, man. You know, bring light to the park again. So.
Is it just you or you got a team? Or
Yeah,
what?
so right now it's just me. I got a board, you know, of directors and things like that. So, you know, my organizers. But yeah, just right now. So that's why we need funding. You know, we funding so I can get a team of people so we can even go harder, you know, and push the mission even more, you know. But right now we're doing good, you know, as a just being a year solid, you know, being a nonprofit. So looking forward
But
to
the
the
big
second.
picture though, where you want to be, what does that look like for Don't Shoot Guns?
Don't Shoot Gun. I want to be a multi-million-dollar company. You know, I want to be a staple in the Twin Cities. You know, where urban ventures. I mean, where urban youth know like there's a platform that can relate to a lot of their stories. You know, and just be able to do stuff on purpose. Like I think even like building a community center that's just for Black kids. You know what I mean? Like being able to be bold and say that, not just be like, oh, you know, we're gonna have a community center. This is AOS. No, just let's create this community center to build these youth up, African American focus, African American staff. You know, because we're just so worried about sharing the baton so time. You know what I mean? With just other cultures, and they're not worried about sharing their resources with us. So I feel like that's what we plan on doing. So Don't Shoot Gun Shoot. I want us to have eventually a community center where, you know, at-risk kids, you know, in the urban city community that experiencing gun violence on a regular basis or got shot or know somebody that got shot can come to a facility and get some support, you know, overall with your mind, body, and soul. Make it fun. At the same time, get some resources to help you unpack what you're dealing with. So, yeah.
Random question. You a Kanye supporter?
Ooh, yeah, I'm a Kanye West supporter, man. I am. It's a lot going on right now, but we got to remain teachable when you got smart people at the table, because you might miss it by just focusing on the dumb stuff, right? You know, and I
Is
say
he
that.
teaching us right now?
Yeah, he's teaching us. but he's getting chewed up at the same time by teaching us, because you're gonna lose some by teaching people like the person that taught us how to read used to get chewed up all the time for teaching. Don't be teaching them how to read. I don't want them to read, right?
Yeah.
So they never wanted us to be smart. You know, they want us to remain dumb, right? And when you get a lot of money and you start learning how to disconnect from stuff, that all these different contracts that keep you in this bond and keep you in this box, he's learning like, hey man, I'm trying to teach y'all, but I only can teach y'all from their platforms, so I might get kicked off from their platform to teaching y'all what I want to teach y'all. You know, and that's realization. They're gonna keep you in this box, just like the police. Everybody in a box until you realize you're not in a box. So I think Kanye West is like really stepping outside of his box, but there's risk when you're taking out of the box because you're dealing with money, and money's power. You know, and power is everything. So they seen how fast, and so obviously what he was saying is it wrong if you start getting kicked off platforms and things like that. You must be raffling people's feathers, I would call it, because what was the energy when Donald Trump had a whole mob for the January 6th, right? And I've been watching that like for the last 3-4 months of how they had different committees on the January 6th, right? And how Trump was really the main person pushing the agenda for the rioters to come, and when the
whistleblowing or whatever they was calling it.
Yeah, yeah. So when you look at that, he didn't lose no endorsements. Wasn't nobody pushing for him to this and that. Didn't nobody tag him with what's the name, right? And he was doing the same stuff, right? Even worse, right? Even worse. But
his stuff was more directly violent.
Exactly. And you talk about this person's words. He didn't even put none of this stuff to work, like even touch a Jewish person or something like that, right? He didn't go in a crowd and saying this and this. He's saying words, and words do matter. Don't get it twisted. But like I said, you're gonna always come at a black man 10 times harder. Donald Trump didn't even stop being the president, and still to this day hasn't got a charge for the January 6th thing, right? And you've seen this stuff. So it's so easy for our people to take other people's side, man. It's so easy. Even when we're wrong, sometimes, bro, we done did, like, life isn't perfect, and we done went through so much stuff in life that even when you make that one mistake, hey, brother, I don't care about you making that one mistake. You know how many mistakes these people made? What was the whatever they saying, I don't even know the word they've been saying, right? Y'all was hanging us for no reason. They was hanging us for black. Where's that word that when it's deal with that? That's just racism. But you hanging just one side of the culture. If you're doing that to natives or you're doing that to black people, then what is that? Is it anti-Semitic, whatever they talk about? Is that it? What is that? What is that label? See, you're so quick to label Kanye West, and you're so quick to label Kyrie Irving. It's like, because they know that these brothers are tapping into something else.
I actually don't know too much about
the Kyrie either. I don't either.
Yeah, I can't speak too much.
Yeah, but what they tagging him with already, I'm like, they already tagging him with this word. I'm like, it's a new word this year. This is the first time I ever heard this word, and they using it a little loosely now, you know?
No, for sure. Tell me something don't nobody know about Tommy.
Ah, man, something that don't nobody know about Tommy is,
or not many people. Somebody might know.
You know, like I said, I share my story about being a survivor of gun violence, but just like not to know the story behind it, you know, of not really going into detail. But 20 years old, I was tied up, shot, and left for dead in the hallway, you know, with a drug deal going bad. So just that's where my passion comes from, you know, of why I'm so passionate every room I walk into, right? No matter if they know us or not, or so I would just say that, just like the story really why Tommy is Tommy, you know, and why he does the thing he does, and the passion he moves with on a day-to-day basis is just because of the experience that has changed my life, you know. And a lot of people wake up too late, you know, and I'm just grateful, you know what I mean? I'm just grateful for another day, every day. So yeah, man, one thing they don't know about Tommy, I pack my bags every day, you know what I mean? I pack my bags every day, man. You know, every day could be the day, so I pack my bags every day.
Okay.
Every day.
All right, well, appreciate having you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate having you. The 19th and the 20th.
19th and 20th, Colin Powell Center, 2924 4th Avenue South. Get your tickets online at don'tshootgunsshoothoops.org. Bring your family, bring your friends. Come sign up for the 3-point contest, the dunk contest.
How does that work?
Oh yeah, you come to the event, and as you come in and sign in, you can sign up to be in the dunk contest or 3-point contest.
Just anybody?
Anybody, yep. Anybody that come to the tournament, not just come in and just no. You got to be part of the tournament. Either pay to get in, or you could be participating in the tournament. Yeah, we just don't want no outsider ain't gonna come to the event and say, oh, I want to just come for the 3-point contest and win and leave. No, but no, come have a good time, participate, and then we doing something dope with the YouTubers this year. Everybody don't play basketball, so we got a nice competition for the videographers and the videographers and YouTubers. They just come out and put some clips together, some videos together. You can win a $1,000 cash prize. So we can win a $1,000 cash prize. So just come on. It's free to enter the contest. So we really wanted to see the best YouTubers in the city come out.
So whoever put the best recap video?
Yep, recap together, yeah.
Just highlights and just stuff that went on.
Yep, 2 to 5 minute little clips together. You know, it's a win-win.
Don't worry about that. I'm gonna win that one.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah. No, for sure, man. We're trying to meet kids where they at, and that's why I say it's important, though, man, that we keep creating new stuff because the old stuff didn't work. Yeah. So we got to come up with the new wave, man. Meet these kids where they at. So come out with your cameras. Come have a good time. It's gonna be an epic event, the biggest tournament in the city. It's gonna bring out all the talent, man. So make sure you come on out and enjoy it. Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger, man. We need to have you. Appreciate you.
I got you, League. Yeah, and it's a wrap, man.